everybody, and welcome to this edition of Big Blue Kickoff Live right here on Giants.com on the Giants mobile app. Howard Cross is drinking coffee. I am John Schmeelk. I'm drinking water today. The phone number for you is 201-939-4513. Thank you so much for being with us. But if you're out there and you're looking for an excellent beverage to quench your thirst, may I suggest Pepsi Zero Sugar, our new sponsor. We thank them for being with us. Don't forget Pepsi Zero Sugar, new and improved. Zero, never tasted so good. Being in the playoffs never tasted so good either, Howard Cross. Giants getting ready to take on the Minnesota Vikings here. Same team they played 3 weeks ago. I went back. I rewatched that game this morning. If you guys want to talk about the Eagles game, whatever, fine. We'll take your calls, but we're not going to talk about it because it really doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
No, it really doesn't. So, Howard, I guess that's what I kind of want to focus on today, reviewing that first game. As you go back and you think about that first game the Giants had against the Vikings, what are your thoughts?
I thought, first off, that unfortunately they weren't really trying to run Daniel as much. I thought they were trying to throw the ball, get the ball down the field, which they did a good job of. I don't want to see our offense in present state with our, everybody's banged up around the league, but our tackles they're doing well, but they're a little nicked. Our interior guys sometimes a little nicked. I don't think we should be throwing the ball 40 times in the game.
Just to give you a number to back up your statement. Giants dropped back to pass 52 times in that game, and they called 17 run plays.
Yeah, that is out.
You don't want to do that again?
No. I don't care how soft the middle of their defense is. I do not want to be putting the ball in the air. So that's just, in my opinion, I think that with everything else, with the way you run the ball, the way everybody's going to be healthy, the excitement of the moment, the noise in the dome, you want to pound ground, get them out of the game, make them have to work for everything they're doing. If they get on the field, they're not just out there willy-nilly playing offense. They're like, okay, if we don't score here, we may not get the ball back for like 9 minutes.
You see how and it's funny you bring that up, because the thing I've been debating, and I put this up on our Cover 4 story, me, Dan, Matt, and Lance all write a little thing, first thoughts about the game. And literally, I went first.
Lance wrote a little thing?
What else would he write? So my thing that I wrote first, I'm first up, and I go, I'm going to be thinking all week about whether or not the Giants approach this game the same way they did the first one because of that run-pass split. Because, look, here's the bottom line. The Giants had their best offensive game of the year. They moved the ball for over 450 yards. Okay. Daniel Jones threw for 334. He completed 70% of his passes. And when Saquon ran it, he ran it well. 14 rushes, 84 yards. So they pretty much did whatever they wanted offensively, to be quite honest with you.
Okay.
Here's the problem. They had a strip sack. Now the Giants recovered that strip sack, but there was a strip sack.
That threw Daniel off for a few plays.
Couple series, actually.
Yep.
But then he got back and he played really well. You had the interception, the Hodgins over the middle, where Hodgins was open. He actually beat Peterson across the field, and then Jones threw it behind him a little bit.
That was still in the same moments when he was tired, or not tired, but freaked out. Go ahead.
And then you had the Bellinger strip fumble, which, again, that can happen on any play, whatever. So that's what I've been thinking about here, Howard. The Vikings' pass defense is, frankly, not very good. The Giants attacked them with a lot of those crossers when they played man. They attacked the middle of the field when they played zone with little slants and in-cuts and stuff like that. And I don't know how they're going to approach this. Like, do they think, because of the Vikings' offense and the fact that they can score a lot of points, that they have to throw it a little more? That, to me, is interesting. I kind of really want to see how the Giants are going to attack the Vikings out of the gate here offensively.
Well, let's look at it this way also. Wink put a defensive plan together that was pretty impressive. They did a good job. Now you're going to have more guys healthy to play against them. More guys. Ojulari will be healthier coming off the edge. Leonard to be healthier, a little healthier in the middle.
And McKinney didn't play in that game either.
McKinney did not play in that game. You're going to have more guys to throw at them and more guys to come up. Landon Collins will have a bigger role in the game. With all that being said, that adds issue. I don't want to say an issue, but it adds more pressure to Kirk. Again, get the ball. If you can possess it, get touchdowns, not field goals. It just puts pressure on them. I don't believe that they operate under pressure the way that everybody else does. Now, I know the whole
and the Giants,
11-0 with 1 point scores and all that. I get all that, but they had to kick a 60-something yard field goal to win.
And the Giants, by the way, Howard, they're one of the heavier blitzing teams in the league. They went even above their usual blitz rate in that game. They blitzed on over 50% of Cousins' passes. So they tried to bring the pressure. The funny thing is they didn't play a ton of man behind it. They actually had one of their lowest percentage of mans in the league. I think they had 5 cover zeros, which Cousins, by the way, didn't complete 1 pass against cover 0. They only played, I think, cover 1. I have it written down here. I will check the exact number, but it wasn't nearly as much as they usually do. They played a ton of zone.
Yeah.
And if you go back and I watched the tape again this morning, there were a lot of plays where the Vikings anticipated the Giants would be in man. They ran a lot of those mesh concepts with double crossers to try to cut guys off in man, and the Giants were in zone. And they had nowhere to go with the ball because there was a man beater called against his own defense. So, to your point, I think Wink did really do a good job. And even when you look at it, the Giants were able to anticipate offensively what the Vikings would be in. They played a lot more man than they usually do in that game, but the Giants had the right stuff called at the right time. So I do think in that first game, just in terms of play calling, I thought the Giants coaches did outcoach the Vikings coaches in that game.
Well, outcoached them and outplayed them as well. The players played incredibly well.
Sure.
I think that the other thing that's going to happen is that, okay, all this is happening. Both teams are diagramming and breaking down everything they possibly can. Here's what Philly's looking at. I mean, not Philly, but
Minnesota.
Minnesota's looking at. Minnesota's looking at their game. They're looking at the Commanders' game. They're looking at Indy, and they're looking at the Eagles. They're looking at 4 games where the offense played pretty well and the defense was playing almost lights out, including the game against the Eagles where the Eagles had their entire starting staff in and the Giants were playing mostly backups. So they have to figure out, okay, how do we play against this? Because everybody performed, pretty well. The blitzes worked, and when they were blitzing, the guys that you didn't expect were getting sacks. They weren't getting sacks necessarily from Ojulari and Thibodeau or from Big Daddy in the middle. They weren't getting sacks from those guys. They were getting sacks from middle linebackers, guys that were playing defensive end, like second and third team guys playing defensive end. They were getting pressure against the quote-unquote best offensive line maybe in football right now. They were getting sacks against them. So they're looking at all that, and they're like, okay, what are we supposed to do? What are we going to do when these guys come back? How are we going to stop them? Offensively, when defensively, they're looking at, dang, Daniel was looking pretty poised out there. How are we going to get pressure on him? Like, okay, they're going to focus their attention on, and there's no surprise, Evan Neal. They're going to go after him and try to figure out how to put him in a bind and put him in one-on-one or whatever situation they can.
And Daniil Hunter had a real good game against him on Christmas Eve.
Yeah, and they're going to do that. They've been looking at him the whole time. They're like, okay, if he gets down, he can't get back up. If he gets up, he can't get down. So we got to put him in a bind the entire time, or we're going to put somebody out on him and put pressure on him to make him have to really reach with that leg to put himself. If you come right into him, you're stopped. But if you can make him have to move laterally a lot, he's still pressing on that inside of that knee. You can see it. And I'm not a doctor, but that's what it looks like.
Yeah, and there are a couple things I think when you look at the matchups up front here, Howard. The Vikings tackles did a really good job against Thibodeau and Ojulari in that game, but their right tackle, O'Neal, is now out.
Yep.
We're going to see who's going to be back. They might have one of their guys come off injured reserve this week, so see who plays. The other big matchup is the center matchup. Dexter Lawrence did not have a sack in that game, but he dominated that game against the Vikings.
Yeah, he made 1,000 tackles.
1,000 tackles, a lot of pressures, quarterback hits. He was all over the place.
Was it the game he played by himself, or was there both him and Leonard both there?
No, they both played well in the game, okay. And that's where the Giants got most of their pressure in the middle against Austin Schlottman, who was in there as a backup to Bradbury. Now, Bradbury might be back this week. That remains to be seen. Otherwise, Schlottman's not there anymore. It's going to be Reed, who could be the starting center. So if you look at that game, Dexter Lawrence dominated that game. Can he be that dominant again? And then, to your point, the whole right side of the Giants' offensive line struggled in that last game.
Yeah, absolutely.
Neal, Glowinski, Feliciano a little bit too. And they got a lot of pressure. We mentioned Dino Hunter. Wanham got a half a sack. Zadarius Smith he lines up all over the place, in the middle of the defense, left side of the defense, wherever. He was getting a lot of pressure too. So those were kind of the matchups that you kind of keep an eye on when you take a look at it for the Giants and the Vikings when you talk about the upfront situation based on that last game.
Okay. I mean, it is what it is. So we got to see what happens.
Let me ask you, would you be happy, Howard, with the job they did defending the Vikings pass game. Like, if they come into this game and Cousins has another 34 for 48 game for 299, is that enough? Because they didn't make those, like, really big explosive plays over the top and they had to kind of slowly move their way up and down the field. Would you be okay with that, or do you think they should change the way they're approaching the pass defense and do a little bit better?
I'm going to tell you why I think you're okay with it. If you go back and you play the exact same game and you eliminate the Bellinger fumble, Giants win.
Howard, I honestly agree with you. I would be okay with that too.
You know, there's one other play somewhere in the game, but that particular
the block punt too.
Yeah, you eliminate the block punt, which was probably the biggest play in the game.
Mm-hmm.
You eliminate Bellinger's fumble, and nothing against Bellinger, but if you eliminate that Bellinger, they may win by 2 touchdowns.
And the Giants had a dropped interception by Flott over the middle, and they had Fabio Moreau had the interception that got called back because he kind of spun Jefferson at the waist. So it was the right call, but he still had a chance to get the interception.
I'm not gonna count on the fumble. I'm definitely not gonna count on them blocking another punt. All right, so I'm eliminating those 2 plays, and they're playing even, and the Giants are playing basically above the numbers at that point. So the Vikings have to play their best ball. The Giants still have to play their best ball. They can't have those mistakes that will, quote unquote, haunt them forever. But they're right there.
No, I'm with you, Howard. And look, the game was – I think this game could go either way. I think the Giants have a really good chance of winning. You look at those 2 teams' points differential over the course of the year. They're almost identical. I think they're very similar teams. I think the Giants are probably a little bit better defensively. Mm-hmm. The Vikings probably a little bit better offensively. And
it won't be a 1-score game if those 2 plays don't happen. It's a 2-score game.
Probably.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay. That's all I'm going on. Not saying you can repeat everything, but that's what I'm looking at.
Yeah. No, look, I think it's a winnable game. Again, I think some fans out there are thinking this is like going to be an easy game. I think people need to relax with that.
What easy? Easy for what?
Correct. Yeah, exactly.
Playoffs. Playoffs mean everything. Wait till Dallas goes down to
Tampa, which is very possible.
And they see like what? Oh, well, thank God Tampa's not playing well. I'm like, that's not what playoffs look like. No. TCU beats Michigan. Everybody's like, I think they got a chance. I'm like, I don't think Georgia's going to be throwing pick sixes. It's not going to be the same game. Like, oh, Howard, you're just an SEC guy. I'm like, okay.
Well, you are an SEC guy.
Okay.
Well, both of those 2 things can be true at the same time. But yes, 100%.
Yeah, that not throwing pick sixes and looking different. That's really different. I'm like, that's what it looks like.
No, look, Georgia's really good. Yeah. We know that. All right, so let's open up the phone, guys. 201-939-4513, 201-939-4513. Big Blue Kickoff Live is brought to you by Pepsi Zero Sugar. New and improved. Zero never tasted so good. And don't forget, folks, go subscribe to the Giants Huddle podcast. A lot of great content. Last week, I had a couple really good interviews. Went like 20 minutes with Landon Collins. And it wasn't even a game. We asked him like one question about the Eagles, about his whole season, why he decided to come here, why it's working. He gives a lot of insight about Wink Martindale's defense. Go and listen to that. It's really good. Had his interview with Darius Slayton on that same podcast. And I basically asked Darius, because, I remember thought he wasn't going to be here. And he took a pay cut. He could have left if he wanted to. Didn't want the pay cut. And I said, well, Darius, why'd you stay? He went, I stayed because of Daniel.
Wow.
It's hard to find a quarterback that sees the game the same way as you. And me and Daniel have been here together for a while. We see the game the same way. And I wanted to stay with Daniel. And he said flat out, that's why he stayed.
Statement.
I know. I thought it was, and there's more of that in the podcast. So go check it out.
That right there is a huge statement. Wow, that's impressive.
Pretty good, right?
Yeah, that's really good. I was like, wow. Like, listening to you say that, I'm like, oh my God, that's a huge statement for a receiver and a quarterback to be talking like that. That's good.
Yeah, I thought so too. This week, do you know if the Papa's Perspective is up yet, Pearson? It is. We have the brand new Papa's Perspective. That's going to be the top episode on your feed. Papa talks to a former teammate of yours, Rodney Hampton. About your 1993. Do you remember the game? The 1993 wild card playoff win at home against the Vikings, Howard. Do you remember that game at all?
0. 1990. We had 93.
Yes.
No, not one play. I didn't remember 93 at all. I don't remember anything in that season.
You don't remember anything about 93? Oh, I know you remember one thing about 93.
Was Trahan a rookie?
Oh, I don't know about that, but I know 93 was the Emmitt Smith separated shoulder game. Do you remember that? Last game of the year for home field advantage throughout the playoffs. Huge game. No, nothing.
Nah.
You're worse than Fiegels.
There are a lot of games. Like, you pick an arbitrary, like 93.
Well, these are playoff games. This is kind of important.
Dude, you weren't getting hit. You can't remember. You start getting hit, you'll be a lot of hits start to look alike.
I understand.
I was talking to Ronnie Lott one day. I'm like, do you remember? He goes like, dude, all these hits look alike, man. I don't know what you're talking about. I'm like, you know what? You're kind of right.
Okay, so I'll just give you a little bit of a hint.
He's
so in
going
that
in the
playoff
weeds,
game,
guys.
the Giants defeated the Vikings 17-10.
I'm
the
sure we
reason
did. I'm sure we did.
talked to Rodney Hampton is that Rodney Hampton in that game ran the ball 33 times for 161 yards and 2 touchdowns.
Wouldn't doubt it.
Let's see if Howard Cross caught any passes that game. Let's see.
0.
No, 2 catches for 11 yards. Long of 6.
Again. I couldn't tell you. I can't even remember that at all.
Jim McMahon was the starting quarterback for the Vikings in that game. And Sean Salisbury also made an appearance.
Definitely don't remember any of this.
Howard's got nothing for you.
Nothing.
Do you remember how you got knocked out of the playoffs the following week?
San Francisco 49ers, Ricky Waters ran for like a 3 billion touchdowns or something.
Yes, you guys got whacked 44-3. That is correct.
That was Dan Reeves, right?
That was Dan Reeves' first year.
I remember that part. Yeah, I remember losing to Ricky Waters. God was like, man, we are in trouble.
Ricky Waters in that game went 24 for 118 and 5 touchdowns. Oh my gosh!
That was 5.
I didn't remember he got 5.
I thought it was 500 touchdowns.
Well, might as well have been. Holy
every time
cow.
I heard something, I was like, Ricky Waters touchdown. I'm like, what the world's going on? I heard that in my sleep sometimes.
Mark Logan also a touchdown in that game. Steve Young 17 of 22 for 226.
Forgive me, Mark, wherever you are in this world, but I don't even remember that.
Howard Cross 2 for 23 had a 23-yard catch.
One more time.
I have way too much fun with this person. I'm sorry.
This is hilarious.
All right, let's go back. Let's go to the
You have access to the computer. You're like, do you remember this? And you're reading it like you were like you're actually remembering it.
No, I'm asking you lived it. I was 12.
You don't even remember it. You're reading it off of things.
I was 12 years old.
It doesn't matter. I remember my kids' first steps. I remember stuff like that.
Oh,
good stuff. Yeah. Just go to the calls.
Let's go to Tim and Charles. No, he's not first. Who's first? Jerome and Charlotte called us first. Tim, you're up next. Sorry about that. Jerome, what's going on?
That's so bad. You believe he's doing that to me?
I love the show. Howard took my thunder from me, but I believe if the Giants can, eliminate the turnovers, the penalties, just play smart football, they can make a good playoff run against all the teams that's in it. And who knows, we might be a couple weeks, we might be talking about Super Bowl.
All right, slow your roll a little bit.
Jerome, one game. I would like Giant fans to take a page out of the book of one Brian Dable. Mm-hmm. He had a press conference yesterday, and much like he did against the Colts when he got asked the questions about, you win and you're in the playoffs, Howard. You win and you're in the playoffs. How about the playoffs? How about the playoffs? What do you think about the playoffs? What about the playoffs? And he was like the Keme Mutombo. No. Knocking that ball all over the place and not answering questions about it. He had a great quote on Monday.
Okay.
He was asked, well, what's different about the playoffs? What does it take to win in the playoffs? And his answer, and I loved it, it was the same thing that it takes to win a game in week 1 is the same thing it takes to win a game in the playoffs.
Not
Go
true.
out there, play football. And tell me why he's wrong then, Howard.
Nothing against Coach. He's just trying to keep the guys on the same page, keep them level. But when you play and you practice, you're practicing hard. You're trying to make the team. I'll go from a rookie. I won't make a whole season or a career of it. A rookie's playing hard. He's trying to make the team. Mm-hmm. When he gets in live practice, he has to pick his level up because there's actual contact, and now he has to let his skills show. He goes from doing that to probably playing in preseason games. His skill level and his attention to detail have to go up even more because you only get so many opportunities and you're trying to make the team.
I'm with you.
You go from that to regular season, and they're maybe letting you play. Every time you get on the field, you have to be so precise because they don't really need you on the field. You're a rookie. Unless you're the first-round draft pick, you got to do everything right. They call you for special teams. You got to know where you are. If you're the backup to somebody, you got to know all the plays. You got to do everything. And then when you get to the playoffs, it's even more heightened because you're a rookie. You need to know everything 1,000 times over, every angle, everything. And that's how it is for like every player in every game. When the playoffs come, there is no tomorrow. You have to be above and beyond on all your details. You can't be like, uptight, but you got to be above and beyond. It's like you're in the red zone. You got to score. That's what it is.
100%, Howard. I agree with you. It gets tougher. You're playing better players. You're playing better teams and all that stuff. You have to be more on your P's and Q's. But I think the point Brian Dable was making,
They're all the same game.
don't turn the ball over. Execute your assignment. Don't make mistakes. Those are the types of things. You're still trying to achieve the same things, even if the difficulty level might be up a little
The
bit.
Belichick, the Sabans of the world, do your job. Just do your job. Be a
Correct.
pro. Respect the process. Do your job. I get it. But yeah, it's a little more intense. Most definitely. Guys are going to be coming. Those guys who've been limping and wrapped up and knees are sore all year long, all of a sudden they got a new lease on life when they're coming at you. You're like, well, I thought he was hurt. He knows there is no tomorrow. No one wants to put their clothes in that big gray garbage bag and go home. So you need to get after it.
What else you got, Jerome?
I just hope that I like everything that they're doing, and if the Giants can, at least get something out of every possession, whether it's field position or, hopefully touchdown, but, at least get field goals. I would like to see touchdowns, but if we can score, and get in a better position, I do believe that we can win this game. Like Howard was saying, just play smart football. Go Giants. Thank you.
Thank you, Jerome. Howard, will the Giants need to score 30 points to win this game?
I don't know if they'll need to score 30 points. That would mean the defense is having a problem.
Well, the Vikings scored 27 in the first game.
Yeah, but that would mean the defense is having a problem. They had 27. If the defense makes one more stop, they score 24.
And we're in overtime.
Yeah, we're in overtime. If Bellinger, forgive me, Bellinger, for keeping going after, because I don't like doing it to my tight ends, doesn't fumble, right? If he doesn't fumble, probably at that point they get 3 points, maybe another touchdown. That's the difference in the game. If they don't block the punt, Minnesota doesn't score there. Or if they score, it takes a lot longer to score.
The Vikings, by the way, scored a field goal after the Bellinger fumble.
Mm-hmm.
They scored a touchdown off of the block punt. So that's 10 points right
That's
there.
a short field on the block punt.
The
Real
block
short
punt,
field.
they got it at the Giants' 29-yard line. The Bellinger fumble was at at their own 36.
Yeah.
So that was still a fairly long drive.
It was it was shorter. Anything over 25, you're doing good. So just again, those things mean a lot. It's at least a 3-point swing, possibly a 9-point swing, almost. Yeah.
No, don't disagree. Absolutely. Look, we know how big turnover ratio is. Second question, and I'll get to you in a second, Tim. I promise.
Mm-hmm.
Dable also made the point yesterday. He doesn't think playoff experience is very important heading into the playoffs for players. What are your thoughts on that as a former player?
It has nothing to do with it. Like I said, you're going to play. Like I said, every game that you play, you're going to ratchet up the intensity, ratchet up, and this is your last game. So this is why it's not so much a quote unquote thing. It's not a thing because you've played all year. You're not a rookie anymore by the time you get to the playoffs. Like you've done everything. You're up on everything. You know how to practice. You know how to study. You know everything. You're up. You're ready to go. So why would you need more experience? Because that year is your own experience. Every player on this team, whether people like to think of it this way or not, is a rookie because Dable's a new coach. New offensive system, new defensive system. Every player's a rookie. Everybody's learning something new together a whole year long. So that doesn't, you don't need playoff experience because you're all in it together.
Let's go to Tim in Charleston. He's up next. Hey, Tim.
Hey, John, Howard. John, it's been a while, 4 weeks. Howard, I haven't talked to you since probably the beginning of the season.
Hey,
I usually call on Thursday, but I was up traveling to Virginia to see my 3 grandgirls over the Christmas holiday.
Nice.
You guys hear me okay? Because I'm not
Very
on my
good.
Yeah,
headphones.
we are loud and clear.
Okay, cool. I can't hear you too well, but I'll plow on. So I don't want to talk about the last game, but I just want to take something out of it. And I think the two big things that game couldn't have worked out better is in terms of confidence and health. We didn't have anybody dinged up. We had a lot of the guys who needed rest, getting rest, and then the confidence that we built up, showing that we could play with Philly, which I'm not going to project ahead, but that I think can help us down the road as well. And other than that, I mean, I'm just psyched. I'm pumped, and the Giants covering that Philly game was very, very good to me. So I'll let you guys give some other callers a chance, and I'll talk to you again maybe on Thursday if I get out of my doctor's appointment early enough.
Sounds good, Tim. Good luck at the doctor.
Yeah, I was about to say good luck to the doctor. Yeah, I thought the Philly game did a lot for the Giants, because last week I was sitting there saying that I thought that everybody should play to keep in rhythm, to do everything. Dayball went with I want some guys to get some rest because I want them to be at full strength. And the guys he put in played extraordinarily well. So with that view of the game and that tempo of the game, and I don't think they lost any momentum. Even though guys weren't playing, I don't think they lost any momentum. And seeing Webb score a touchdown and seeing the sideline explode, I was like, okay.
And Galladay.
And I'm like, well, Galladay was even worse. Like every time something happened, it was like, it's like, oh, you're watching the game. I'm like, okay, we're just trying to get through this game. Everything's going along, and defense is playing well. They come out and everybody go over and give them a little dap, and this is good. And all of a sudden, Webb scores a touchdown. It's like we're in the playoffs. I'm like, what is going on? Everybody's fired up, giving high fives. I'm like, oh, wow. Not even looking at the scores, just like Webb, first start, gets a touchdown, runs over somebody going into the end zone. It energized the sideline. And then Galladay making the catch went even crazier. People, I was looking up in the stands, the Giants fans were going crazy, screaming for him and everything. So I felt great for him. So again, it was momentum, it was energy. So that the energy that was happening during the game makes up for a lot of the guys that weren't playing, because they were up, fired up, jumping and screaming too. So that kind of helped out.
Are you familiar with angry runs?
Angry runs?
That's a no.
What is angry runs?
So on Good Morning Football,
every
Tuesday, Kyle Brandt has his angry runs.
When a guy runs over somebody.
Yes, and he picks the winner, and he gives that person a scepter. Well, one of the two finalists this week, it was Davis Webb for running over the dude, and Raheem Mostert, the running back for the Dolphins, who also ran over a dude in that game.
It wasn't Derrick Henry for planting that poor guy.
He was one of the three. It was Henry with it wasn't even a plant. It was like a toss.
Oh man!
He punched the guy in the face and he went flying like in a cartoon.
Grown human.
That dude went flying.
I felt so bad for that dude, man.
He went flying.
He got to go home and talk to his dad. Like, hey, Dad,
so
I tried.
It was that run. It was Raheem Mostert running the guy over, and then Davis Webb, and Davis Webb did not, unfortunately, pull off the victory. Howard's a little hot here, apparently.
Yeah, it's burning up in here. Okay. Now I'm better.
The intensity is up.
Yeah.
You know what's bad?
Playoff time. It's playoff time. There we go.
You know what's bad when he takes the Alabama hat off? Because that thing usually does not leave his head.
Yeah.
But so Davis Webb, I was annoyed. I really wanted Davis to get the angry runs, but he did not.
Come on, he's a quarterback.
First ever start, come on.
I get all that. Still, he's a quarterback, man. It's like the kicker. If the kicker would have got the ball and ran, you can't give it to a quarterback.
Well, no, you give it to the quarterback because he is a quarterback and he ran over a real defensive player.
No, he ran over a guy who thought he may have been going down. That guy was like, oh, he's going to go, whoa.
And it's funny. So Kyle Brandt presents the plays, and then he asks the three other co-hosts what they think. Mm-hmm. And, McCourty's on there, right? Mm-hmm. And he goes, come on, that's a defensive back. Davis Webb outweighs him by 20 pounds. That's not a big deal.
No, that's if that dude had known for sure that he was going to try to run over him, he'd have tried to meet him. But he was like, he sees me. He can see. He ain't stopping. I got to make this look good. I don't want to get. It's not like the dude that's trying to tackle Derrick Henry. He's like, hey, man, why you do me like that? It was serious.
And it did not look good.
Oh, man, it was embarrassing for the guy.
Let's go to Cliff in New York. He's up next. Hey, Cliff.
Hey, guys. How you doing?
What's up?
Very good, Cliff.
Listen, I didn't want to dwell on the last game either because I know you want to talk about the next one. But with the Galladay catch, I had a new reaction. I've always been a yeller and screamer watching the TV, but this time I was yelling and screaming and laughing at the same time. I didn't know how to explain that, but I was just really, really elated. And anyway, I got what I wanted from that game. I wasn't really calling for him to play starters, but I got what I wanted. The way Howard was just talking, there was so much terrific energy, and especially that we seemed to close the gap on that division rival from the last game considerably, and also maybe even a dent in the roster project, compared to the beginning of the season with all the good stuff that we got from the second string. You know, I thought it was terrific. So I hope, and that's, I don't want to put cold water on anybody's playoff stuff, but I remember 2000 very well, and you know, it was only a couple of years, 3 or 4 years after our Super Bowl appearance that we had earned the right to be in the number 2 draft spot where we could trade up and get Eli. So, you know, I'm looking for the long-term project. I'm all in on that, and how the playoffs are gonna help that. And as far as this game, if we're concerned about passing the ball too much, when you face a superstar talent like Jefferson, aren't you supposed to think in terms of keeping him off the field as much as you can? And the way you do that is to run the ball. So my question is, maybe we can really do that a lot, and maybe even see, I think a lot of us have been mystified that we haven't seen more of 31 and Brightwell.
Well, Cliff. If he's Saquon's getting the ball in the running game, dude. This is the playoffs. Like, yeah, maybe Brady will get a couple runs here or there, or Brightwell 1 or 2 runs here or there, maybe. But look, this is the playoffs now. Your best players are getting the ball. I don't want this. Give him a couple series off. No, I want Saquon on the damn field.
And we've been talking about how great the Giants' second guys played against the Eagles and how good they looked, and they did look good. They looked really good. But I will sprinkle a little caution on because Jalen was trying to get down, trying to get out of bounds, and not trying to get first downs, and he wasn't taking anybody on.
And they weren't doing any design runs with him either.
Yeah,
really.
when he got out of the pocket, it was like, okay,
slide.
Well, let me get down quick. Let me get down quick. He played baseball very well. His little league came back to him really quickly.
Slide.
Yeah, so let's temper it a little bit. I thought they played well, but temper it just a little bit.
Okay, I'll buy that. Well, so can we think of the roster project in the playoffs at the same time? Does
Sure.
How does that work?
What do you mean?
I don't know how it works, but yeah, if guys play well, they'll earn their way back here next year. I mean, it's kind of that simple.
I mean, the way it's going to go is you're going to play to win the game. You can't. The playoffs are not a place where you're trying to quote unquote fit your roster for the following season. No. Like what's going to happen is you're going to get out there and you're going to put some of your best stuff out there, and hopefully it's going to work. You're going to have, from an offensive standpoint, you're going to have Hodges catching the ball. You're going to have James kind of doing some of that intermediate stuff. You're going to have Slayton, pressing the outside, and guys are going to have to really work to cover Slayton. And then you're going to have Bellinger in the pass game and possibly Saquon out of the backfield. In the run game, you're hoping, and I do mean hoping, that Saquon can really get off, not just 84 yards, but 100 plus, and
yes.
and here and there. And I do mean here and there.
And Barkley, by the way, 8 catches for 49 yards in the game, too. He was heavily involved in the short game.
And here and there, you want Daniel to take, pull it out of his gut and take it down the sideline and get some of that Jalen in him and learn to slide and not have to run over anybody, so that we can play. If you happen to win the game, you can play another game with everybody totally healthy. From a defensive standpoint, Ojulari, Thibodeau, and those interior linebackers, not the defensive tackles, because they're going to play a great game. I'm sure of it. But Ojulari, Thibodeau, and whoever's playing in the middle,
Jalen Smith, Micah McFadden, Jared Davis, whomever's in there.
Yeah, those guys are going to be the big moments of the game. They're going to be the guys who are going to really stop the run, because they're going to try to run the ball inside between the tackles, whether they like to or not, and they're going to try to quote unquote when that pass happens and Wink's doing that blitz. Those are the guys that somehow, some way, I'm still confused by, but they come running scot-free at the quarterback. And this time when you hit him, take him down.
Maybe strip the ball.
Yeah.
Hello?
Yeah, what with you, Cliff?
Yeah. Is it all right if Saquon runs 35 times?
If that's what it takes to win the game.
If it's working, yes.
Yeah.
If it's working. If he runs the ball 35 times, Slayton will have a touchdown. Bellinger will have a touchdown. Hodgins will have a touchdown. I don't know who else is out there catching balls. There's going to be a lot of touchdowns because they'll be sucking up and have 8 to 9 guys by the line of scrimmage to try to stop, and our guys will be running by them catching balls for touchdowns.
Thank you, Cliff.
All right. Okay.
Appreciate the call. I'm trying to think. When's the last time the Giants had that
if
many yards?
If he rushes for 35 times,
I don't think that's going to happen, by the way.
That he should have over 200 yards rushing.
That's the thing, yeah. If you're running that many times, you better, really be rolling.
Gashing them. Just gashing them.
Let's see. I'm curious to see what's the Giants' rush totals been the last few weeks. So let's see. Total runs. Let's see. This is the last. I'll count backwards from the Eagles game, right, Howard?
Okay.
21, 37 against Indianapolis, and that was split between a bunch of guys, including Daniel. 21 against Minnesota, 30 against Washington, 24 against Philly, 30 against Dallas, 30 against Washington, 21 against Dallas, 26 against Detroit. And then he had the monster game against Houston when they ran it 47 times. That's when he had 150 yards in that game. So
absolutely.
I think that's kind of what you're looking at here.
Yeah, I think if he gets 20 carries, 5 to 8 targets, I think that's a big game for him. Because the targets are just like extended runs, a lot of them.
Oh, yeah, 100%. And they were in that game. Remember, they threw those like swing passes to him with some blockers in front. It's basically just an extended run.
It's the RPO. He's rolling out. He's in front of the quarterback. The guy just above him is out. If they drop back to cover the receiver, you dump the ball down to Saquon. If the guy comes up to Saquon, you hit the receiver behind him. So that's pretty much it. And if they do neither, they go to both guys. The quarterback runs for 7 yards.
Yeah, I'm thinking anywhere from 25 to 30 touches would be a good spot for him. I'm with you 100%.
Absolutely.
All right, Rick in Tampa. He's up next. Hey, Rick.
Hey.
What's
John
up?
and Howard. What's up?
How we doing, man? How we doing?
I'm doing good. First of all, let me at least say, Howard, that there's a new big dog in our college football world, man.
Oh, you think so?
Georgia. I'm a Gators fan. You're a Alabama fan, and they are now seems to be the beast that we're going to have to contend with, which sucks because Florida's going nowhere, man. I don't know what we're going to be doing these next couple of years. Obviously, you Tide will be the Tide, but man, they're good.
Well,
they're
good. I think that without going too deep into it, I'm waiting to see if their quarterback that Georgia picked up is going to be the real deal. I think Bama has two 5-star guys at quarterback.
Was it a transfer or a recruit for Georgia?
He's a recruit.
Okay.
He's not a transfer, and I think that Alabama has recruited probably for the next 3 years the top defense in the country. Because everybody they have, like I watched the high school All-American game this weekend.
My turn.
Yeah.
You're in the weeds, Howard.
I'm sorry.
You're in the weeds.
I'm in the weeds, and I watched it. So I think it's gonna be pretty impressive to see what happens. If it'll be more if Coach Saban stays around that long. Kind of like Belichick. Yeah. It's more if he stays around.
Who do you think the heir apparent to Saban is, Howard?
I have no idea.
Really? Interesting. I figure you have your tentacles in that program. I thought you might know.
If it was me and I had to choose anybody,
go get Kirby Smart.
I would go get Dabo.
All right.
Yeah.
I don't think Dabo would ever leave Clemson, but
I think if you write a big enough check, he might.
I don't think they can write a big enough check.
Right.
I think Clemson will write a bigger one.
Maybe you're right.
Yeah.
What do you got, Rick?
All right. Because Florida's 5-star is totally now dissing them, so who knows? But SEC is so good, though, man. How could these other schools even think they could compete against us? So, anyway.
Warm weather.
All right. Listen, Saquon to the right, Saquon to the left, Daniel to the right, Daniel to the left, dump to Bellinger, throw to Saquon, and a couple play actions to the wide receivers. And that is the game plan for the Giants offense going into Minnesota. The idea, you know what, coming away from it, what is it, a onside kick possibility to beating the Eagles? That wasn't bad. I think it shows our system works with the way the Giants played, which was encouraging to see. Who played linebacker? Because we're talking about how important the linebackers are going to be. Who played linebacker in the game on Sunday?
Jared Davis. Jared Davis was the main inside guy.
Yep.
And will he be? Who's going to be the main inside guy this week?
I mean, I imagine it's going to be Jalen Smith, but I could see Jared Davis maybe getting a little bit of a run.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Because I think that's an area where they could have played themselves into a position for the team. I'm a little nervous about this game. I understand that we played them well the first time, and the line in Vegas is 3 points. So that tells me one or two things: that we're going to get killed, or the Vegas mob knows what they're doing out there, and we Giants have a legitimate chance. So My question is that am I too far thinking that the Giants could get ugly? Or, and my question to you, John, was which game of the 2007, 2011, and 16 is this playoff game, first round, more to be liked? I hope it's not Green Bay pick. You're not picking the Green Bay game, but the 2016. But which has the most similarity to it? And I just hope my intuition isn't right on this game, that the Giants will go out there and. So, what do you think? To talk me off of that thought, John and Howard.
Look, the Vikings haven't blown anybody out all year. I mean, I would be. Look, you never know. Giants fumble a kickoff, have a pick six. Things can get ugly. It happens in football, whatever. But it would be very out of character for both of these teams, I think, for this to be a lopsided game in either direction. Both these teams play close games. I would expect heading in halftime, it's going to be a one-score game. And then in the fourth quarter, it'll probably be a one-score game. Might a team open up a lead late and win by 10 or 13? Yeah, sure, maybe. But I would expect this to be a close game, just based, Howard, on how these two teams have played most of the year.
As an athlete, let me just say this: a guy who played for years and stuff, college, pro, everything. I've never figured out the whole betting thing and why people put so much weight on what Vegas says, and how come Vegas is almost always right. I can't figure it out.
Almost always right.
Look, Vegas is smart. Vegas is smart.
They got somebody plugged into a computer or something, and they're just guessing with all these different things. But I've never once looked at point spread, who to beat, what the spread was. I'd have people tell me after games, like, man, if you guys would have just done to kick this field goal instead of kneeling on the ball, you'd have beat the spread. I'm like, did we win? I'm like, yeah. I'm not sure what you're talking about. So it's a real interesting thing to hear that a lot, and I think especially now with DraftKings and FanDuel and all these other
DraftKings, Howard, only DraftKings.
Well, there's 1,000.
No, I understand, but DraftKings are our sponsor, so only DraftKings.
DraftKings, yes, DraftKings. I got you. But with the influx of all of the gambling apps and everything that's going on, it's got to be 30 of them.
There's a billion of them, yes.
Yeah, so
but only use DraftKings.
But don't only use DraftKings. DraftKings that's the draft Bible. But but my point would be is it's just so funny that so many I don't think players think about it, but fans really. And I know some coaches have thought about it. I've heard coaches say, "Look, here's the spread," and they will say that to teams. Like, can you believe they don't think we can handle this? Look at what they're saying about us. And I'm like, what?
Insult something, right?
It's like trying to find something to inspire your players. So I've always thought that was kind of funny. I'm like, yeah, nobody's playing, but it's like me playing golf. I only know what I'm going to shoot when I start playing. I don't know until hole 12. I'm like, okay, that dude's hitting the ball in the woods. I got to get rid of him. He can't keep playing with me. It's a kind of moment.
Yeah, and
so John,
I would say it's probably more like the Falcons game. And I don't think it's an exact science or anything, but, Matt Ryan, Kirk Cousins, kind of.
Yeah.
They have a couple good wide. They had Julio Jones that year, right? You got Justin Jefferson, Roddy White, and Adam Thielen. By the way, Tony Gonzalez was their tight end. Hawkinson had a really good game against us. They kind of had the weapons, but the Falcons' defense wasn't really good that year.
Julio Jones was.
Oh, he was something else. Yeah. Absolutely.
I love Jefferson, but Julio Jones was a beast.
Right. I'm just trying to make him. If I was to make the broadest of comparisons, that would be my broadest of comparisons. But I don't really think it's apt, to be honest with you.
Right. Okay. The last thing, real quick, is this whole Galladay thing. He makes one catch, and all of a sudden, everybody looked at each other collectively and said, "Is he back? Is all this stuff now?" I know Dabo wouldn't say yes or no. He'll say everybody, will deserve to play how it is, like he's always been doing.
If you, Rick, I'm just going to interrupt you, dude. Ignore those people on Twitter, please. If you think they're benching Darius Slayton or Isaiah Hodgins for everything they did for this team in December, those guys are going to be your starting wide receivers outside. Yeah. Richie James is going to be your slot guy, and Kenny Golladay is going to have the same role Kenny Golladay had through the month of December. Or at least, look, do I know that for sure? No. I'd be shocked if because of one catch against the Eagles in the fourth quarter when you're down 2 scores, his role's going to change. That's fan talk. That is not real-life football talk.
Basically what happens is
Rick.
someone creates a narrative, mostly in the press, and they ask right after the game, oh, wow, it's so great that he did this. Is he going to be more involved in the offense after one play? And again, that's nothing against Kenny at all.
It's nothing against Kenny.
People try to create, and this is me. I'm a member of the press now. You try to create narratives. I've always argued that some things aren't narratives; it's just stuff that you need. You're trying to get the first hot take to make there be a good answer, and like, hey, Tebow flew into the Jets as the backup quarterback. We got to go interview him. I'm like, he's the backup quarterback. Why are you interviewing him? Well, he's coming to the Jets. He's the backup quarterback. Why are you interviewing him? The referees, they're on strike. How can they play the games? I haven't seen a game yet where we go like, man, that ref called a great game. That dude was awesome. You see that? That dude was great. And I'm like, listening to people, I'm like, these are not important things, guys. Stop.
So I'm going to make a nerdy Star Wars reference if you're ready for that.
Oh, yes.
Oh, here we go.
May the force be with you.
So when I picture the guy in Vegas making all the lines, right? Do you remember The Empire Strikes Back?
Yeah.
Lando's buddy, shaved head, had like the little electronic thing going around his head. He was like half man, half machine.
Yeah.
That's the guy making all the spreads.
I got a more Tom Cruise Minority Report.
Okay. Oh, you got the people in the pools? You got the people in the pools and the wooden ball flies around the thing and comes out?
Because I have no idea how they do that.
201-939-4513. You're funny. Take your fandom to the next level with a season ticket membership. Stay connected to the club all year round, not just on game days. Memberships are now available for the 2023 season. Remember, you have a chance to have a home playoff game if you get to the... I don't want to go too far, though. Memberships are now available for 2023. Learn more about all the exclusive member benefits. Visit Giants.com/tickets. Limited inventory is available. And don't forget, Big Blue Kickoff Live is brought to you by Pepsi Zero Sugar. New and improved, zero, never tasted so good.
I'm going to give me a Pepsi after this.
Let's go back to the phones. Yeah, I could use some caffeine. Let's go to Doug in Glen Falls. He's up next. What's up, Doug?
Hi, how are you guys today?
What's
very
up?
Good, very good.
All right. Well, Danny Dimes, you think Danny Dimes is ready to go for this big game?
No, I don't think he's ready at all.
You're right.
I think he's going to mail it in, and he's going to stink.
No.
Of course he's ready to go, Doug. Absolutely.
Okay. And then top off, the big thing I saw, Howard, last night, Georgia's got all kinds of speed, and TCU looked lost in space. The defensive backs were blown by left and right. There was so many long touchdowns that they didn't know where they had to go or anything.
A lot of blown assignments. I agree, Doug.
So what happens in college football, and this is really as short as answer I got, the better the recruiting class, the better you're going to play. So you'll just have, you just have better athletes, and you've got to have, like, in the NFL, we have depth. We've been complaining all year about the depth of the Giants. Do we have enough players to play? In college, it's a little different. You can have like 4 or 5 classes of 4-star and 5-star recruits, and when you do that, the other teams don't. Like I'm sure Georgia's been top 3 or top 5 for the last 4 to 5 years.
Howard, you see it. You have backups on Georgia and Alabama that are 4 or even 5-star recruits. They go transfer, and then they're the best player on the team they transfer to the next year. It's crazy.
But the point would be is that like they got and this is not in the weeds. This is what it is. They are doing this with the top 3 on average recruiting class.
I'm sure whatever it is.
Yeah, TCU is probably top 50,
if that.
Yeah, so that's what you get. No offense, like.
And by the way, really great job by TCU getting this far. They had a heck of a year. They beat Michigan. I know Michigan beat themselves in a lot of ways in that game. But still, you got to give for TCU to have gotten this far. You got to tip your cap to them. They did a great job this year.
Yeah, and here's the other thing. And again, probably in the weeds, but here's the other thing. When they bring all those teams in to play in the playoffs, it's going to look much worse. It's going to be a bloodbath.
That first round when Alabama and Georgia are playing like the 12th and 11th seeds.
I feel bad for those kids. It's going to be like the old Bobby Bowden saying.
Is it going to be 8 teams or 12 teams? What are they doing?
Whatever it is, it's going to be bad.
Pearson, do you know what it's going to be? Do you know what they decide? It's 8. 8. Yeah, 1 versus 8 could be a little tough.
The late great Bobby Bowden says you win tough games, and the teams you're supposed to beat, you make them want to drop their program. That's what it's going to look like.
You got anything else, Doug?
Yeah, the only thing I got, and I'm sure Duvall talked to him. Some teams asking permission to talk to Kafka about a head coaching job, but I think the kid needs a little bit more experience before he jumps into the pool that quick.
Yeah, there was a report today, and Doug, thanks for the call, that the Panthers, I think it was, right, Pearson, where we're going to request permission. I think Pelissaro had that. Panthers had Kafka on their permission list for their head coach.
You know what I say about that?
What's that?
Jeff Saturday. If they offer you money, take it.
Oh, yeah, no, I get that.
Yeah, I got a plan. Well, we're going to pay you how much? I'll be here tomorrow.
Especially if it's Panthers. I had that.
Right. I got to tell my wife we're moving.
All right, let's go to one more call, and then we can do a little potpourri before we say goodbye. Scott in New Mexico. You like that? Scott, what's going on?
Hey, guys. How you doing today?
Oh, I guarantee you your ex-head potpourri are in the house. No comment.
Couple of questions. First thing, I'm worried a little bit about. I'm fairly confident the Giants are going to win this game, but what troubles me is the play of Evan Neal over the last month. Will you think that's going to necessitate more Daniel Jones running the football? Should they break loose on that side and cause some angst or trouble? And then my second question.
Good question.
Has to do with the Vikings offense of receivers that they have. Jefferson, Thielen, Hawkinson. I think Irv Smith is back now.
Yeah, he is, and don't forget KJ Osborne. He's a good player too.
Right, and now Saul Cook is actually can catch.
Yep.
So you have. I mean, this year the Vikings had over 5,000 yards passing the ball. So from the defensive point of view, I don't think Cousins is that mobile a quarterback.
He's not.
In the sense that Jones is. Do
Correct.
you feel that the best way when you have an immobile quarterback, similar to Tom Brady, I'm not putting them in the same level, but the way the Giants beat Brady is up the middle. Do you think that the role of Leonard Williams and Dexter Lawrence, along with the linebackers blitzing up the middle, will cause the most consternation for Cousins and negate the possibility of the Giants losing because of all the the receivers they have, because they're all averaging over like 10 or 11 yards per catch. So I was just curious on both levels what you thought.
Sure.
And I'll take your answers off.
Thank you, Scott. First of all, I'll go quickly before I pass it to Howard on the second one. Yes, I think we saw it in the first game. Dexter Lawrence was up in the grill, and Leonard Williams was up in the grill of Cousins all game. They had a couple of opportunities for plays downfield they could not get to because of Lawrence and Leonard coming up the middle.
The closer you are to him, the harder it is for him to throw the ball. That's just part of the game. As far as Evan Neal goes.
And by the way, Kirk will panic and throw the ball up for grabs too.
Please. Then we'll go back. If we win this game and we are back here next Tuesday, remember, we're going to have this whole Kirk Cousins discussion again.
Depends. Well, the Kirk could play well, but the Vikings could still lose.
Anyway, back to Evan Neal.
You're killing a poor guy. He threw for 299 with 3 touchdowns against us in the first game. You're killing the guy.
Evan Neal. I think Evan Neal is going to be a lot better going forward. Years and years and years. I think that whole injury to his knee, you can see him reacting. I even go as far as to do this. I watched him jog on the field when they're like making the announcements, and when a guy's like limping when he's jogging on the field, that's kind of an indication like, hey man, he's toughing it out. And hey, give the guy a badge, Purple Heart, whole 9 yards. He's gonna have to play a little bit better, but they're gonna chip and send guys out that way to nudge him on the way out.
Bellinger on the way out will knock him all day.
Saquon is gonna like catch him on the hip on the way out, and all of a sudden you got Saquon hitting the guy on the hip, and then the backer coming and they're dumping the ball like he did in the last game out in the flat because he's out there by himself. So there's ways to help him out. He is going to get some one-on-ones during the game, and hopefully, and I do mean hopefully he can hold up pretty well. What they got to hope for is that they're running the ball, and Evan Neal gets to lay on whoever that guy is that's in front of him that's getting a chance to rush him during the pass plays, and he gets to like lay on him during the run plays and really lay on him.
All right, this is your last chance, Howard, on this show at least before the game. We'll talk to you on the pregame show on Sunday, by the way, which will be on WFAN at 2:15. Make sure you check that out. Any final thoughts before I throw a couple random things at you?
Any final thoughts? Hey, man, hopefully we'll be back here next week. But if not,
Well, I would love to have you here next week, win or loss.
Okay, I'll be back here next week. Win or loss. Okay, then I'm here as many weeks as you'll pay me. But final thoughts. Here's final thoughts. Congratulations to Daniel Jones of having an exceptional year, regardless of who was playing out there. He fought through the whole season. I think he had one game he was nicked up, didn't get to play, but congratulations on a great year. Congratulations to Saquon having a great year. Bad shoulder, getting hit, knocked around. Congratulations to Andrew Thomas.
That's what I was going to say.
Incredible year.
And Dexter Lawrence.
And Dexter Lawrence having an incredible year. I'll even go as far as say Bellinger having an incredible year.
Great rookie year, for sure.
Looking forward to seeing the development of Ojulari with extended health.
Healthy,
and Thibodeau going forward. And by the way, the unsung hero of the defense, Julian Love.
Hope they can figure out a way to bring him back.
Yeah, because phenomenal player. Just was, jack of all trades. He's done it all, and it's not it's that whole jack of all trades, master of none. Not Julian Love's case. Good at everything he's been doing. Really hope that he can, come back and they can get him back, and he plays an exceptional game this weekend.
You want to give me a score for Sunday?
I have no earthly idea.
Okay, that's fine.
I would be.
That's fine. I wanted to give you the chance. You don't have to.
Can I do the minority port thing? Can I get the lady in the pools and? No, I guess not. I have no idea. I'm just praying for.
I can grab Pearson a couple of interns and like bring him to the medical room in like the hot tub if you want. No.
No. We're not doing
you don't
that.
Want that? Okay.
We're taking that off the air. We cut. You know what I'm saying?
Are you ready for the Giants' opponents next year? They have been set.
Oh yeah, I've looked at that.
You looked at it already?
We're going to Vegas, baby. We're going to Miami, baby, and New Orleans.
Yes, needless to say,
I gotta get in thong shape to be at that pool. Pearson, you okay over there?
Howard, with all due respect,
I'm doing yoga now, Pearson. Look, I'm getting cut, baby.
If that's what it takes you to put on a thong, I hope you never get into thong shape for the rest of your life. Stay just like you are right now, and all of us will be very, very happy. So for the fans that don't know, at home, the Giants next year are playing the NFC West, the AFC East, and then their team that finishes in the same place as they are in the NFC North, NFC South, and AFC West. So the Giants' home opponents next year, if you have Giants season tickets, here's who you're going to get. The three division teams, obviously, the Cowboys, Eagles, and Commanders. You have the Rams and Seahawks coming in from the NFC West. Who knows what the Rams are going to look like next year. You have the Patriots and Jets. Big trip for them coming in from the AFC East. And then you have the Packers coming in because they finished in third place in the NFC North with that loss to Detroit.
Will we get in the Packers with the crying Aaron Rodgers or the philosophical Aaron Rodgers? Which one are we going to get? The one that was leaving the field like
you might have the retired Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, at $100 million.
You might have the Jordan Love.
He better not retire at $100 million. But I can say this: the road trips, good food.
Oh, the road trips are good. Good
food
for us.
Good food this week.
So remember, next year you only get 8 home games because you have this year you had 9.
Okay.
So at Dallas, at Philly, at Washington, the 2 West Coast trips, or 2 of the 3 West Coast trips, I should say, at Arizona, at San Francisco. Those are the 2 West Coast trips.
Good food.
Arizona probably not going to be very good next year. San Francisco probably will be.
Good food.
2 tough AFC East teams on the road: Buffalo and Miami. We'll see who Miami's quarterback is.
We'll get some wings. I'm really pulling for Tua, but he gets concussed a lot. I'm really afraid for that kid.
I hope he's healthy so we get to see him next year.
I do too, but
because that means he's healthy.
The whole concussion thing's a little much.
That's scary. I get it.
Yeah.
To Las Vegas to take on the Raiders. Who knows what the quarterback situation there is going to look like?
That'll be Josh's like last year in the Raiders probably. I'm just not doing. So mean. So mean.
You are mean.
And back to the Patriots.
Yes. And by the way,
they'll have an offensive coordinator then. Like O'Brien is coming from Alabama. He'll go right to Alabama, and Saban wins the championship again. Go ahead.
You know who else is going to wind up? You know who else is going to wind up the Patriots at some point? Watch.
Who?
Kingsbury. No one likes hiring coaches getting paid by other teams like Bill Belichick.
Anyway, we'll see.
We'll see.
I got all kind of comments on where they're all moving to. I got a whole I got my Minority Report for that. I know where the coach is going.
That was more half a joke than anything else. And then the other thing I'll throw at you, your final thoughts on the, or just thoughts, not final, but your thoughts on the Texans playing their way out of the first pick in the draft and Lovie Smith saying, hey, you guys are going to fire me? Watch this.
Did he know he was getting fired before the game?
There were reports that they were going to let him go before the game. So
How?
there's a
Okay,
chance he knew that.
So in my estimation, and I understand the whole Rooney Rule and all this stuff, you hire a guy for 1 year. Why fire him?
Two straight coaches for them. I don't look.
I mean,
I don't understand white, black, whatever.
Yeah,
I don't
but
understand giving a coach 1 year. It doesn't make any sense.
But you hire a guy knowing that your team's bad and you fire him.
It doesn't make any sense. No,
Yeah.
I don't disagree with you.
Yeah, you know you have problems at quarterback. You're lacking in so many different positions. You got to pick some guys up. Are they letting go of the GM too, or just the coach?
They're the GM in Arizona got let go.
I think he let himself
The
go.
GM
he
in
was
yes,
hopefully
correct. Yes,
hopefully
Steve
he's
Keim.
healthy. Yeah.
The GM Casario in Houston is still in place.
Yeah, so that doesn't make any sense to me. If I'm running the organization, I'm being the GM, I'm doing whatever I'm going to be. I know I'm probably going to get, one of the top 3 picks. So the top pick is going to be a team in Chicago. They'll trade and move with you because there's only one spot.
Yeah, so now you're going to have to give something up to move up that one spot. That's correct.
But you could trade one. You don't have to trade a lot to move one spot. They're not going to expect a lot. Now, if they wait and try to trade with another partner who's farther down, that makes a big difference. But then
Colts.
Yeah, you got to figure out which quarterback do you want? How good are they all? How many of them are there going to be in the draft anyway? And which guy do you want? Do you want Bryce Young? He's small.
Yeah, I mean, maybe they like Stroud better than Young, and then they won't have to move anyway.
Yeah, he's a phenomenal athlete and everything, but he is small. Do you like Stroud better? Like, do you trust him? Do you like the kid from Kentucky better?
Or Florida.
Yeah, or the kid from Florida. I don't know if he's from Florida. But, I ain't beating on him or anything like that.
Yeah, you are.
Yeah, but if it was me, if I was him, I would stay. I'd stayed another year, and I'd have been the first pick overall in the draft.
You could have been.
I would have stayed another year for that.
I'm going to pull you out of the weeds.
Okay.
For Howard Cross, I'm John Schmeelk. Big Blue Kickoff Live was brought to you by Pepsi Zero Sugar. New and improved. Zero never tasted so good. And go download the Giants TV app. That's our exclusive streaming app. It gives you video content, original video content, game highlights on demand, and direct to Giant fans. It's free on Apple TV, Roku, Amazon Fire TV, and the Giants mobile app. To search for Giants TV. For Howard Cross, I'm John Schmeelk. We're out of the weeds, and we'll see you tomorrow. Paul and Russ with you then, and Howard and I will be back with you next Tuesday at 12:30 every weekday on Giants.com as we get ready for the playoffs. We'll see you then.